beautiful people. I love that you tune in every Tuesday. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Brittany Mahan, and I do have exciting news because I am bringing in a co-host, which is my lovely cousin, Doreen Silva. Hi.
Hello.
So I was doing this show obviously in quarantine time, and I definitely had, Kylie and Lucas and Nick, and unfortunately just with distance and availability, things just didn't work out. But now we have Doreen here, so thank you for coming on board.
Thank you for having me.
The reason why I brought her on tonight's show is because she actually knows our guest very well. How long have you known Jocelyn?
Oh my God, I've known Jocelyn since elementary school. So it's a long time.
So how did you and Jocelyn kind of reconnect? What was that story like over the quarantine time?
I followed Jocelyn's Instagram, the Adventurous Aphrodite, and I would see all of her posts, and I just really loved everything she was talking about, and I would really think wow, people really need to be more open about talking about these things, and I needed to talk about a lot of the stuff too, so I was like, I'm gonna message Jocelyn, and then we kind of just reconnected.
So for all of you wondering what tonight's topic is about, it is all about sex. We're going to talk about self-pleasure, how that is equivalent to self-love. I think this is a topic that a lot of people actually don't talk about, especially young women like Doreen and I. And I mean, I'm kind of open to it because I'm not going to say I don't like sex. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course. I mean, who doesn't? Really?
I think it's just one of those things where it's it's so weird because it's you have girls now out there acting like, I want to just call them F girls, but I don't want to swear, where they're just on Tinder and they're just looking for the next, they call it penis appointment, but they use a different word.
Well, that's actually new to me. I haven't heard that.
You don't know what that is?
Well, now I obviously can know what it is by you saying it, but I haven't heard that term. So.
Oh, yes. No,
I'm older than you.
Yeah, there's a 10-year age. It was 7, right?
9.
9. Okay, we're almost there. 9-year age gap between me and Doreen. So obviously, things that relate to me is going to be interesting to hear. When she was 25, what times were because nowadays everyone's on dating apps. Doreen,
I mean, there was dating apps when I was your age, but there was not as many as there are now.
Right. Well, I remember Plenty of Fish. That was your go-to.
That was my go-to for the longest time. That was all there was, other than Match.com.
Did you meet anyone on Plenty of Fish, in person?
Yeah.
Okay.
A few people.
And how was that?
2 of them were okay. One of them was really sketchy, and it actually got me off of it completely because he was really crazy.
I'm gonna be honest. I downloaded Hinge. Probably I have a love-hate relationships with online dating only because when I feel like I'm lonely, I'll download it. Right? I'll be like, okay, screw it. Let me just shop. I call it shopping, and you just kind of look at the options out there. You're swiping through it, and then. The other day, honestly, for the first time, I want to say in a year, I downloaded Hinge, and I was like, you know what? Let me just shop. And I just hated it. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that I was judging, let's say, my potential boyfriend or my potential husband. However, I know that's not how everyone looks at dating apps, but if you have a goal that one day you want to get married like I do, I hope you look at dating apps there's going to be something out of it than just but if you're one night standers, then you're looking for a one night stand, which is fine too.
I definitely didn't like Hinge. Definitely didn't I think Deanna and someone else was oh, download Hinge one of my single periods, and I'm like, I don't like this. I feel bad because you have to kind of go through it and see what you like based off of just 3 pictures.
Literally 3 photos, and then someone shoots you down or someone slides into your DMs and you both have to match with each other first off. And I mean, I don't even know because everyone who's younger than me, I guess they like it. I don't know. I'm confused.
And I saw the Bumble one, and Bumble's what the girls do
all the work,
and I'm like, I don't like that either.
Doreen's come to me.
I'm I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, it's a weird world we live in nowadays. It's quarantine time, kind of. The world is starting to open back up. I'm nervous that people are going to be so antisocial. It was funny. I took myself out to dinner the other night alone. It was a dinner for one, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, Brittany, that's so weird. Like, why do you take yourself out to dinner? I take myself out to dinner because I don't got time to, like, look for somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, I was hungry. I found a restaurant. I sat myself down, and I enjoyed a good steak.
I, like, admire that because, like, I really can't do that myself. So I really admire it when I see people doing it. I'm not kidding.
It was hilarious because, like, the waiter comes up to me and he's like, oh, what is this beautiful woman doing sitting alone? And I was like, just having a meal. That's what I want to do. And next to me, like beside me, a little behind me to the table, this dude was on a Bumble date. And he's like, I really appreciate you meeting me out, even though it's all social distancing and quarantine time. And they were just, it was
Did they have masks on?
No, they didn't. Because when you get to the table, you can take off your masks, which is nice because they don't expect you to eat with mask on. But... But the dude was like asking questions. He went straight to like.
So you were like, you're talking about like the conversation on someone else's date. That
yes,
okay.
Because I was sitting so close. Like the couple was like so close to me, but like off to the side. So I'm just cutting my steak, and I'm like, oh, this is about to be interesting. Because he started asking like straight away about her sexual life. And
well, I think people are really curious about, like you said, it's like quarantine right now, and like I mean, me myself, like it's like. Not even relevant my sex life during quarantine, so that's why like this is so interesting that we're talking about this today, because I'm like, I think this is such a great topic, especially right now.
I mean, I've gone like 4 months without sex. You've gone,
oh my gosh, February. So I mean, I don't even count anymore.
Yeah, so she's at like 7-ish or something like that. But this is the thing, right? So it's like,
is it really?
I mean, February, March, April, May, June. No, 4. You're at 4.
I'm at 4.
Okay, I'm at 3. I'm at 3. You're at 4. Okay, but the point of it is, you know, you just got to figure out how to take care of yourself when you're alone. And I just don't think that that is something that I ever got talked to about. I know me and you, Doreen, have definitely talked about it. How are your feelings on you know, self-pleasure?
Well, mine, like, I feel like everybody should do it, and I think that it needs to be more openly talked about, and especially not have such like a stigma against it. And like, it's great that Jocelyn's here, and that's kind of like what, like, Jocelyn, I was going through a period where I wasn't even doing it, and I wasn't feeling like I wanted to at all. And I like reached out to Jocelyn, and I was like, I've always been a sexual person, like, I don't know what's going on with me right now. And like, her tips were just so helpful for me, like, and they really have like made me feel like myself again. So I feel I have a lot of appreciation towards Jocelyn.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Kara said I do the same. Oh, hi Bianca, we love you. Mwah. But just to kind of definitely relate to you on that, I definitely went through like a crazy Jesus phase where if I had sex with my boyfriend that I was dating, I would cry after, because I'd be like, oh my God, Jesus is mad at me. Yeah, it was definitely the guilt. It was the shame. It was the embarrassment. It was, you know, it was so embarrassing. We called horns the devil, so it was wrong.
Oh. See, for me, like, I don't even bring any of that into it, because I feel like it really is like, it's a self-love thing, and it really is. But like, because I wasn't really feeling like the self-love towards myself. I wasn't feeling good about myself, like, after a breakup, and it was kind of like, how do I go about starting this all over again and feeling that like kind of pleasure for myself again. And it I think everybody needs to be more open about talking, even like just talking to Jocelyn about it, because I hadn't really talked to anybody about it. Helped me so much, just having the ability to talk openly with somebody about it and not feel judged.
Well, I know you're making me get excited, so let's go to commercial break, and then we will bring Jocelyn in herself. We'll be right back.
Hey, look, it's those guys.
What's good? What's up? What's happening today?
Let's hit those pearly whites, man. Yeah. The boys, check it out.
Stand up to my chair, it's gonna compare us. Go.
Ooh, cute.
Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
Hey girl, what's up? What's the name? What's good? What's up?
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Sir, go and step out of the vehicle for me.
Yes, sir. See ya, buddy. Today, Sean's got a hearing. We'll see how it goes. Good luck.
So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
All right, welcome back, everybody. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about self-love, self-pleasure, kind of everything in once. We have the beautiful Jocelyn and Doreen Silva here with me tonight. Before we throw it to them, Dad, I'm telling you right now, turn it off. I'm helping you out, Dad. Just shut it down. I saw you watching. Don't continue.
Unless you want to talk about sex.
All right, so Jocelyn, so why don't you give the audience a kind of a background on what you do, what your Instagram is all about?
All right, so my company is called Adventures Aphrodite. I founded it about a year ago. And a lot of people often ask me, how did you even decide to even get into this field? It definitely was not planned. I originally went to New York City to become an actor, to film, do filmmaking. I was auditioning, and the job that I had on Times Square suddenly just laid everybody off. And then a coworker of mine was like, "Why don't you try to get a job at Babeland?" I'm like, "What is that?" "A sex adult store owned by women." I'm like, "Okay, let's do this." So then when I went there, I got hired, and at first I'm like, am I actually going to be able to do something like this? Am I going to be able to really talk to people about sex? Because I grew up in a family just like I'm sure you guys did, where we didn't have this open conversation about sexuality. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything that we would talk about. There was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and everything. And a lot of times, a lot of people, when I speak to them about sexuality, they have that kind of very similar background where they talk about, the parents never talked about it. So they had to learn from their peers. They had to learn from porn. Not really the greatest ways to learn what sex positivity is all about.
Right.
So with Babeland, it just opened me up into a whole brand new world of sex positivity. It helped me as a person grow in my sexuality. Mm-hmm. And when I finally started doing workshops, I was able to help people from 18 years old who were just starting off in their sexual journey to people in their 60s and 70s, couples coming in being like, "Listen, we've never done anything like this before. This is brand new to us. Can you please help us?" And I loved helping people who never came into a sex shop before, because now I'm very empathetic. I like to listen to people and what their needs and everything are. And I really enjoyed helping people who had a million questions, mm-hmm. because I was there at that point. I was there at one time or another as well. So with Adventures Aphrodite, what it is an adult workshop, private workshops that I teach. I do sex toy parties. I want to do private coaching as well. So it's a little bit of everything for everyone.
Oh, we're going to have a sex toy party.
Oh, yeah. We'll get hooked up with that. So Doreen actually went to my, before COVID hit, mm-hmm. she actually went to my launch party. No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
You were going to go to my launch party, but we did have our conversation afterwards. But yeah, I had my launch party before COVID happened. And it was so much fun because I had people, male identify, female identifying, from 18 all the way up to 60s. Came to my party, and it was so much fun. And one thing that someone said to me was, "I love how sexuality can really bring strangers together, mm-hmm. because it is our birthright to have consensual, beautiful, exploring sexuality with a partner or by yourself." So it really is a topic that is very, influential to across the board,
Yeah.
regardless of how you identify as.
I love that you said porn is one of the worst ways you can learn about sex, because I have to tell you how I got introduced to sex. I was like wicked young, like way too young to even thinking about sex. But one of my girlfriends at the time, she's like, Brittany, I found something. I said, what'd you find? She said, I have no idea, but it's something. It's something. I said, okay, we'll put it on. We were literally probably in second grade. I'm not lying to nobody. And she's like, okay, but you can't tell nobody. And I was like, okay, I'm a little freaked out. What are you putting on? She puts on this porn that she found, and it was nasty. This hairy, fat guy was like,
Do you remember how old you are?
Yeah, I was probably like, I was in second grade. So how old are you in second grade? 8 or 9. I was probably 9 years old. And I'm like, and this nasty man had these 2 beautiful women like just all over him. And I was like, God, shut it off. And she's just,
that's not something to see at that
no. I was like, my poor little eyes. And then, it was never, but my point is, it was never the same for me. And I had such a messed up message on what sex was, because that's how I was introduced to it. No one, and the thing is, Jocelyn, me and my cousin, we come from, our grandmother lost her virginity to her husband, so she only had sex with one guy, and my mom only had sex with 2 guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's not like the case for my mom. Actually, like I am grateful that my mom was very open about talking about it with me, because like I appreciate that a lot, like, because I don't know if I would have the same outlook on it if my mom wasn't so open about it. But I was also really young the first time I saw it, but like we're so different in age that like this is gonna sound funny. I'm not even if Jocelyn remembers, but like when you're young and then like you kind of skip through the channels and then you kind of can see like a little glimpse of it, and I'd always be like, "What's that?
Yeah,
what's that?" Well, but you could never see it because it'd just be like a messed up screen.
The great thing about the porn industry nowadays is that they are actually starting to do really well with coming out with more feminist style porn, where it's more of a storyline, and it has real bodies in it, real people in it. They use lube, they put condoms on, like it's realistic sex.
Right.
So they actually are getting a lot better when it comes to pornography. However, this is one thing that I say to everyone, is that we all deserve to have access to true, authentic, and honest sex education. And
like not the gym teacher and
don't
10th
even
grade.
get me started. So my brother's ex-girlfriend one time told me, she said her gym teacher told the girls that, hey girls, just to let you know, once a month you're gonna be a human ketchup bottle. And I'm like,
what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
just
what
like,
it is.
first off, you're right. So first off, you have people who are not even certified, who probably don't even are uncomfortable themselves wanting to teach children and or like teenagers, and it's like, we already have, it doesn't, regardless if you identify as male, regardless if you identify as female, at that age we're so vulnerable, and we're learning, and we're growing and crafting to the person that we want to be and molding into the person we want to be. And those type of things, whether you see it or not, can be very traumatizing to someone when they're growing up. Like, oh, I guess my menstrual cycle is a joke,
right? Which is what we got taught. Like, it's just so annoying how the period is looked at just like this nasty thing, when it's like, dude, it's called life and it's called birth, and none of us would be here without a vagina. That's all I'm gonna say.
Or even like if women didn't get their period.
Exactly. So there's just so much. They've done so much with getting rid of the stigmas and having more access. If you go into Instagram, there are so many amazing different types of sex educators out there working. Some focus more on sex positivity when it comes to family. Some people focus on sex positivity for female identifying people, for trans people. There's so many different realms. So for me, I'm still working on who I want to be my ideal customer, but the thing at the end of the day is that it's so universal, and we all need to have this access. So my thing is, we grew up in a society, and we're still growing up in a society where people can't even say the word sex. without laughing. You guys don't understand the amount of DMs I get a day. Oh wow, you're a sex educator. Can you teach me? And like it's like as if it's a joke.
Right. And it's so crazy because it's literally what we have to do to create children. Like we have to have sex with each other. Yet people are like, "How are babies born?" Oh, this animal flies in the sky and just drops it on your doorstep. Like, no, you have sex. Why is that so hard to tell your kid?
But we are sexual beings. Like, we're made from sex. We are sexual beings. This should be more of an open conversation. Like, even us sitting here right now, like, more people should be sitting in a room discussing this, like what Jocelyn said, without making it a joke. Like,
And it's fun. I mean, obviously, sex is fun, and we should enjoy it, and it should not always be so serious, because there are, some people out there. Exactly. And it's like, it could still be fun. Like, even with my parties, like, everyone was having a good time, everyone was laughing, everyone was, like, playing with the vibrators, everything. They were having a good time, but they were also learning.
Right.
And that's one thing that I got really great feedback, was that they've gone to other parties before, the guests that I had there, and they said you were one of the only few people who ever took the time to like really talk about the anatomy of the penis, talk about the anatomy of the vulva, and the fact that people didn't even know that there was a difference between vulva and vagina. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, we need
let's get into that.
Yeah, let's talk about anatomy. But also, I want to say one thing before we go on, is that it shouldn't just be about the education part of it, about like how we procreate. My major thing is talking about that sex is pleasure.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I first got like touched by a guy. So when I was like entering into my sex world, I only thought that I could feel good from a guy, because like self-pleasure was never like a thing anyone in my life ever talked about. So it's honestly really dangerous, the fact that like I can feel super good internally by myself, yet I had no idea that was the case, because it was almost like, oh my God, like I needed a man to make myself feel good, and that's just a lie. It's literally a lie.
It wasn't the same for me, but I mean, I think you'll get a little curious at a young age, and you kind of just like, whoa. Well.
See, I was the total opposite.
Really?
I was already in a woman's body like in fifth grade. I was the first.
No, that was
everything.
Me. Yep.
But my mind was still very childlike and very innocent, and for me, it's like, because I didn't grow up in a family that talked about these things, it's not a blaming thing. It's just, everyone is coming from where they are.
Absolutely.
And, if I were to have children, if they were to ask me questions, I would tell them, like, I'm not going to put some cutesy names to their body parts. This is what it is. And this is what it is.
Vagina.
Yes. And then there's a different, there's appropriate ways. Like, you're not going to talk to necessarily to your child about pleasure yet. It's when they're in their teens, when you already know they're already feeling curious. And yeah, let's talk about the self-pleasure here, is that people still to this day, and I was talking a lot about this with Doreen in our private talk, is that a lot of people just want to get it over and done with. And then what happens with that is that it registers when you're with a partner, is that people want to rush it. They don't want to take that time.
And you're talking about getting to the climax.
We're rushing to the climax here, but that's also a result of the fact that when you're, self-pleasuring, a lot of people want to get it over and done with because they're afraid they're going to get caught. They're afraid their parents are going to walk in.
Yes.
All these different things. Or they feel weird that they're getting themselves off,
Yeah,
So
it can come from the young age, too, like you're saying, being young, and then, like, when you do it when you're young, and then you kind of just like, oh, I got to do it quickly.
Yeah, I got to do it quickly. And then,
it's like anxiety behind self-pleasure.
And there's a lot of anxiety with that. And then I think that translates to a lot of people having performance anxiety when they're with somebody. And I think
and also putting on a show, right? Because like if you got introduced to sex by porn and this girl's screaming, I used to think that being the loudest was what meant good sex. So I would be screaming. It's so stupid. I would be screaming, and like then I'd be like afterwards, I'd be like, that sucks. Oh my God.
Yeah,
so
but
bad.
that's an exploration. Is that right there is that we get influenced by people and by me. It's not just the porn, guys. It's the media, it's the movies, it's TV. They don't ever, oh my God, they're making out, they're doing it, she has an orgasm, he has an orgasm. It's
super fast.
Yeah, like it's like a 2-second clip, everyone's coming and then they're done.
No one's using lube, no one's talking about consent, no one's communicating, hey, are you into this? I'm all about, my motto is communication, lubrication, relaxation.
Let's get that
So like for me, it's like, it's just, and these are things you learn, but if we had this access when we were teens, at least, or even in college, guys, like even if we had this access in college, how much better our sexual journeys would have been at that time.
Yes.
You know, instead of learning these things in our age group now.
Right.
But I'd rather be learning now than never, because there's some people out there who have never had an orgasm with their partner ever, but have never communicated it. And why are people, let's talk about that, like why are people so scared of communicating about this stuff?
Because you got to get vulnerable, right? And if you've never trusted your own self alone, like there was, okay, so I wanted to see what therapy was like, so I actually did join this app, and yesterday there was somebody in the app that literally goes, I literally think it's repulsive when someone else finds me sexually attractive. And I'm like, you think it's repulsive if someone finds you sexually attractive? Like, why? And
so you're in a therapy with a bunch of people?
Yeah, it was like a group chat. It was like, it was actually not to go completely off topic, but it was like, am I going to be scared of my traumas forever? And so this therapist kind of talked to us about being scared of your traumas, and a lot of the people in the group got sexually assaulted. And that has a huge thing to do with people like wanting to self-pleasure or not wanting to self-pleasure. But I think, and you can give me your opinion after this because I'd love to know it. I think if you did get sexually assaulted, the first thing you should do is be able to find yourself again within yourself and make yourself feel safe one-on-one before you ever bring another partner in, because like you got to know that you're safe within your own body, and you're going to treat yourself with love, care, and respect.
I think that translates across the board, not even if someone, you know, trigger warning that if someone, you know, gets raped or anything like that, it doesn't even have to even go to that extreme. It could just be emotional abuse from family, from friends, and just their low self-esteem in general. And we're all learning. We're all at different paths right now. And I think the number one way is that I personally think that to love thyself and to know thyself before you can really fully be able to love another person. I'm not saying that you have to, you know, that you're not like able to be with another person without that. However, it does help to really know yourself inside and out, and know that you don't have to be codependent on somebody else. I think there's a lot of codependency going on right now.
My God, yes.
And people are afraid, you know, if a partner is not giving you what you need, you complaining to your friends or to somebody else is not going to solve the issue. Right? So it's like, I just, you know, one of the things for me, and I hope that someone's watching this right now and they're like, wow, you know, maybe I really can sit down with my partner or sit down with myself. And one thing I always suggest to people is a yes, no, maybe list. Have you guys ever heard of that or done one of those?
What is that?
So right there, the yes, no, maybe list is to be able to sit down and say, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is something I maybe want to explore. And then you write that down, and then you can exchange that with a partner. You can see what that's on their list, because at the end of the day, you don't want to get any surprises in the bedroom. You know, you don't want to be like, oh, I did not want that in there, you know?
I actually do remember you talking about it in one of your Zoom, like you had the whole Zoom thing during quarantine.
Yeah.
Talking about that.
And it's so simple, but it does help to see it all on paper. And just like people evolve, your sexuality and the things that you like or may not like will evolve with it.
Right.
And I think it's a great thing to have.
Let's talk about comparing, like, having a partner that you have a long-term relationship with and changing throughout the seasons and trying new things in the bedroom versus, like, what my generation is doing, which is just, like, one night stand after one night stand after one night stand. Like, how do you think you're going to get good at sex because you're pumping and dumping every single person that swipes right?
Okay.
What a way to put it.
So I just want to, like, reiterate one thing for me when it comes to sex positivity, right? Something that you may not be into, and I'm not saying you, but just in general. Someone may not be into something, someone might be into it. And as a sex positive person, it's like, okay, different strokes for different folks. It may not be something for you, it may be something for me. So some people, unfortunately, at the end of the day, I'm not somebody who's into this as well. But, you know, they will figure this out on their own. I'm an old-fashioned person. Like, I'm very explored. I like to explore. I got my list of kinky things I want to explore, too. But when I say I'm old-fashioned, it's like, I'm one of those people I want to explore with that one person.
Right.
But if someone else wants to be polyamorous, where they have multiple different partners, it's just so like, it's wonderful, the dynamics of relationships nowadays. It's not just all monogamous anymore. It
really isn't.
Non-monogamy, people can have different girls, different guys. It's a whole different world and spectrum. But yeah, number one thing for me is like different strokes for different folks. And when I say that, it's like, okay, let's make sure it's consensual, and not just consensual, enthusiastic consent. Does this person saying yes, or are they saying maybe?
Who wants to have sex with someone that gives you that response? I'd be pissed. I'd be like, get out.
You know, so it's like, yeah, for me, you know, I think that you never stop exploring. You never stop exploring, and when you do, that's when you really need to sit down and be like, what's going on?
Right.
You know?
It's funny because earlier in the season, we had a polyamorous coach, or she was on, and she was like, I just think you like to claim people, and you keep saying my
I think I remember
man. And I was like,
I remember
me.
watching that one.
Yeah, it was interesting only because I am old fashioned. Like, I'm sorry that I only want to share my body with one human, and like, I'm even at the point right now, which I don't know if I'm going to make it, but like, I want to even wait till like we're married and on our night, and I know like that's so old fashioned.
Yeah,
like I know that's
serious.
old fashioned. But I've just losing my virginity was something that was very precious to me. I don't know, was it precious to you ladies? Like how was that experience like?
I mean,
I was young, but I mean, I actually remember like I knew who I wanted to lose it to because I had such a big crush, and I was like, I wanted that from this person, and that's what it's gonna be. And like, I mean, I made sure that it was gonna be from that person. But and sex for me is like a whole different topic. Like, I mean, for you, like even for me, like, you know, when you go through like your my 20s, like sex was like, you know, you did have porn, and you did have people kind of comparing sex like to porn. So you kind of like were like, I want to be the best. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was like a performance.
And that comes the performance aspect of it for sure. And also too, one thing I wanted to mention as well is that the phrase of losing one's virginity, that can mean so many different things.
Oh, tell me more.
A lot of people think that losing your virginity could just necessarily be like penis and vagina sex. Okay, so we have lots of different ways of having sex with somebody. And the more I think about it, I never really thought about it in this way, but the more I am exposed to more education about things, I feel like losing one's virginity is subjective. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, someone's had penetrative sex with a penis.
Okay.
So, and this is not something that I would have never thought about this if I wasn't a sex educator.
Okay.
And even also too.
Well, yeah, because you think of losing your virginity, you think of penis and
exactly,
vagina.
But then also that's like because of the porn industry as
Absolutely.
well, you know. So, or like, you know, parents being like, oh, you know, you do this and all this stuff. But I feel like when it comes to losing one's virginity, it's like it could be any type of sex that that person identifies, because even the term sex can be very different from person to person. Someone could be using a dildo. They could be using.
Oh, would that be losing your virginity to a dildo?
It could, in someone's mind,
it could,
because we're in such a space.
So you
and
could
time.
take your own virginity nowadays, huh?
If a person thinks that masturbation is a form of losing their virginity, I have never met someone who thinks that way about that part of it.
But I haven't either. But there could be out there.
It could be out there.
It could be you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's very different, and that's what is so fascinating about it, is that there's so many different. It's not just so black and white anymore. There's so many different types of spectrums of sexuality, and I think it's so beautiful.
Did you get attached to the guy you lost your virginity to? Because I feel like men don't know this. Men do not know. Because for me, I became attached to the dude I gave my.
Yeah, I mean, I did too.
I feel like they don't understand that they like kind of take a piece of our soul.
With like just human feelings in general. Like, I mean, I've even. I don't want to talk about like my son. My son's 15.
Yeah.
And you know, hasn't yet, but like, I mean, he's like, when I do, like, I'm not gonna make it a girlfriend because I'm too young for that. And I'm like, you say that now until you do it, and then all of a sudden the feelings come after. Like, you know.
So for me, not to get too much into it, I was in my 20s, so I wasn't.
Good for you.
I know. Good for you.
That's like unheard of.
Yes. I was not.
Because of that aspect, and mind you also too, maybe it could be a subconscious thing because my parents were also teenagers when they had me.
Okay.
They had me at 16, my other one at 18, my other sister at 20. So maybe seeing that may have been something that came into the subconscious mind as to why I wanted to wait until later. But yeah, I think maybe there was a reason at that point. Had I lost my virginity at a younger age, maybe I would have felt more attached to that person. But I get attached to people, but in the heart space. So it's like, yeah, that person's always gonna have a special something, inside your heart, and like you're never gonna forget that. Whether it was a really shitty experience or whether it was a great experience, you're always gonna remember your first time.
I mean, everybody has a list. Everybody's got a list that you kind of. I mean, I don't know if you've ever wrote a list, but I know like people write a list. We talked about.
Oh
this.
yeah, wait, the list of the perfect guy you want?
No, like if your people.
The
people
list
you've
of
been
the people.
with?
Yeah.
So that first person's always gonna have that like.
Oh yeah, you write their name in capital letters. You're like, you took the gold trophy.
Oh my god.
But that's just, I don't know if every girl, because I talked to my roommate, and my roommate was like, she was like, I was fine with who I lost it to, like we were dating, it was whatever, like she's like, but I'm not like, she's like, I didn't really like think, like I didn't really get like attached to him, and I was like, am I the only one in this world? Please comment below if you got attached to your lover, or I mean the guy or the person you lost your virginity to, whether you're whoever
Brittany
it may
likes
be.
to talk about this because like she obviously did, so I think she like.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm alone.
And I think that's totally 100% valid. I think a lot of people do get attached to the person. Even like people get attached to the first crush they ever had that wasn't even a sexual experience.
Oh,
like
shoot. It's that first feeling of like
it's
ecstasy.
the first feelings of everything. Like any type of first experience that you have, whether it's sexual or not, you're always going to remember that. That type of feeling. It's always going to carry with you.
So let's jump into, not to kind of change subjects, but let's jump into like women and kind of I don't think we really got into like the anatomy of it.
Oh yeah, the anatomy.
Oh man,
Anatomy.
we've been talking about the anatomy.
I have a British accent now.
So man, I should have brought my puppet.
I thought you were gonna.
I should have told you to bring
I literally
toys.
just forgot to bring my stuff. Maybe there'll be another time we can come and I can do like a sex toy 101 party.
Absolutely,
thing.
absolutely. We'll have a whole sex party on the Performer Radio television.
So one thing I'm going to say about the anatomy, because obviously I don't have my physical piece, I have this really cute puppet that shows all the anatomy of the vulva. One thing I have to say is that I found really intriguing when I had my parties that people don't know their own anatomy, and I found that to be really wild. I'm like, show of hands, has anyone ever just sat there and looked at themselves in the mirror and like really explored what they're working with? And most people haven't. And there we go. That's the body shame, the feeling weird about our parts. Like, oh, does it look normal? Like compared to this person's, and then people start comparing the body bits
And
to
how
like.
weird is that though? How weird is that we are that obsessed with physical looks in society that you're comparing your own vagina with someone else's? Like, it is your vagina. Let it be.
Yeah, but when you're young, like you don't know either that like you think everybody's just looks like yours.
Yes, and then you realize they don't, and you're like, whoa, am I like strange the way that I look?
That's true.
But yeah, it's just. First thing I want to say to people is just like get yourself into a mirror and look at what you're working with. It doesn't matter what pieces you're working with. Look at yourself, examine it, get to know yourself. That's the first step is to get. If you can't even look at yourself naked and not without that cringy feel, it's like that's what causes the anxiety when you're with another person.
What about men with small penises?
I'm one of those people. When I hear people talking about body bits in that way, I'm like, okay, so it's okay to talk badly about someone with a smaller penis, but then if it's flipped around and we're talking about small breasts versus large breasts, that's totally wrong. But when one thing I can't stand is when I see people saying small dick energy online, like on memes. I just personally don't like it, just because, people who have penises, they're gonna feel those anxieties and body shames and everything too.
But I've been like with people in all different sizes, and
Yeah.
like I really don't think size matters. Like I really don't. I mean,
I'm
maybe
so
for you,
rude.
you
No,
do,
it
but,
doesn't
like, I
matter
don't.
for me, but I'm just rude because I literally I was in the self-sabotage mode probably a couple months back, and I always to test how masculine the man is, I'll like comment on his penis in front of his friends saying it's small, which is so wrong. Which is so wrong.
He's like, I'm gonna make you feel real small.
I'm like, how manly are you, little guy? And then I always get dumped after. Always. So ladies, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't do it. Don't talk.
Oh my god.
No, I'm just.
I know. I'm so rude.
Hey, we gotta have the balance here in this
I'm
room.
like, it's like a little less than his phone, and he's like looking at me with dead stares, and then he's like, "This ain't working out." I'm like, "Why? What'd I do?"
You know what's that
too
saying
funny.
though? Like it's not the size of the boat.
It's emotion.
Emotion,
right?
I know, and he was great too. So sorry to see you go, bud. But you know,
No, it's just but yeah, this just I can literally talk hours about just body shame, like, and how people
let's tie into
appreciate
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with how insecurity is your confidence level, and I think that's where sometimes it can come into play, where someone thinks that they equate their self-confidence to their number sometimes. And I'm not like, this is not me like saying, hey, like, oh, people who have a large number, anything like that. Again, also about the sex positivity, as long as you're being safe and whatnot. However, I think that a lot of people growing up, they equate a self-confidence with how many people they have had, and I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think though, like I have a lot of guy friends, so I mean, and the guy friends have, like, I used to call them sluts, because like that's really kind of like, that was like, oh, they're like, you guys are such sluts, because like, I mean, they would show me their lists, and like they would be, I'm talking like hundreds.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I've
so
met
I'm
them.
like,
I lived with one of them.
Let's see if that really was a true list.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's like probably more than 100.
Honestly, there was one dude I lived with, no names, but he had one day 3 girls in one day. It was like morning, snack time, dinner, and I was like, oh.
And to me though, that's like, what do you get from that? I don't know. I don't know.
I think it varies person.
I don't know.
And I think it varies person to person when it comes to those type of situations. Like, why for exactly what you're talking about. Like, why are people so obsessed with their number?
Yeah. I think it should just be private. I think
that could be like, it's obviously probably like an ego thing. Maybe it makes them feel more confident knowing that they could get that person or whoever it was.
Yeah.
There has to be a change though in society coming soon, because I remember when Doreen, you were my age, like it was more difficult for men to bring home girls, like, I think. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, women
mean like bring somebody home to like parents?
Yeah, well, no. Like when you would go to the clubs, right?
Oh, okay.
Like you would get, like, that would be your big thing. Like, okay, I'm going to a bar, I'm going to the clubs. But like, that wasn't what everyone was doing. Like, there was the people who went out and went to clubs, and then there was people who found relationships, and then there was people who went to work. In my generation, it's like people go to bars and it's a hunting field.
I know, Brittany.
The energy is like everyone wants to have sex.
Yeah,
like, it's so odd.
Going out with you, like, during my single period, I remember saying that to you, and I'm like, Brittany, like, I could feel it.
Yeah,
everybody's on the prowl. Everyone's on the prowl for like their one night stand tonight. I can feel it.
Listen, we all have gone through our moments where, like, you know, you wanted to do your thing, and I think that's fine. I just think and Jocelyn, I kind of want your opinion on this. Like, I think it all stems from, what is your intentions behind doing that? Are you just ranking up numbers because you're insecure and you want to feel manlier or stronger, or, you know, you want to feel something about yourself, or is it just because you genuinely enjoy sex?
I think though, like, a lot of it really is like people just enjoy sex. I don't think it is just like wanting to always rank the numbers. I think people do just enjoy sex, and sex can get a lot off your mind. So I think maybe
let's talk about that. I think that let's talk a little bit about the benefits of self-love.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk a little bit about that. And I totally agree with everything you're saying. I think that sometimes maybe we're making it like more complicated than it is. Maybe people just really enjoy sex.
Yeah.
But as long, like I'm saying, as long as they're being safe, as long as they're, you know, doing what they need to do with condoms and all that stuff, it's like, go for it, okay? But, you know, communication. If the person's over here thinking they're gonna have a one-night stand, but this person's over here like in love,
Right.
That's like disconnected communication right there. So
I used to hear my roommate be like, all right, like it would finish, and then he'd be like, all right, get out. And the girl would be like, what? And he'd be like, get out. And
that
then
right there,
she would
is a...
no, but then she would walk out, and there's like, it was kind of, you remember my old apartment? It was kind of like a jungle. Like when all the doors were shut, you couldn't know which door was actually like the exit. And so there was one poor girl where he's like, all right, you're like, see you later. And he shuts his bedroom door. And so she's in a house by herself. It's a maze. And she's just like, which door is the front? He's like, oh, you'll figure it out. She walks into my room, and I'm like across the hall. Like, it's just, it was, I don't know, seeing women get treated like that hurt me because I know if you're a woman and you do lack self-love, that stuff hurts, and it hurts a lot. And it's not when you're doing it, right? Like, we all like sex, and I love that, but it's when you go home by yourself and you're thinking about how much that guy just used you for sex, or how much that person, whoever it is, just used you for sex. I think being used for sex is what destroys self-love. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it can, and I think it can't, but I want to know Jocelyn's.
My goodness, it's just so layered. There's so much emotions when it comes to things like that, and I think a lot of it has to do with, after a certain point, you have to break that cycle. You know, if you're starting to see, okay, how does this person talk to me? How do I feel in their presence? How do I feel afterwards? If you don't have self-awareness, you're not going to pick up on those cues, and you're going to continuously keep doing this cycle over and over again until you realize, wow, this actually is not to my benefit. And what I mean by that is that it's not serving me. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't uplift me.
Yes.
And I'm all about, like, spirituality, about energy exchange. Let's talk about that for a moment. How I firmly believe that when you have sex with anybody, you are exchanging DNA with that person. You are exchanging energy with that person. And if you are literally being explored with multiple people, just make sure that you clear that energy out, and just move forward from there. But being more self-aware about yourself and making sure that you see the signs if you are being treated with disrespect.
Jocelyn, I don't even want to cut you off, but we only got 4 minutes left, my love.
Moly. We didn't even get to we didn't even get to dive into a lot of stuff.
We are going to definitely have you back on our show, so don't worry about anything. Thank you so much for joining us
so
today.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
I can't believe it already flew by.
I know, it goes by so quick. We gotta figure out how to do this. But this is everyone. Please follow her. It's Adventurous Aphrodite, and DM her if you have any questions. If you want her to get more into detail, because obviously we just kind of scratched the surface. This is a heavy topic, so please reach out to her, and she will answer everything you have. Thank you so much for joining us. Me and Doreen are just gonna close out the show, guys. All right. She's amazing. Are you kidding me?
Yes. I wish we got to talk more, too, though, because, like I said, I had a talk with Jocelyn, like, during quarantine, and Jocelyn helped me so much, like, and I still have, like, so much gratitude for Jocelyn, because, like, I was going through, like, a rough patch myself, like, where I was feeling not the self-love. I wasn't feeling like I could self-pleasure myself, and just talking to Jocelyn, like, and being able to have such an open, honest conversation, and you could tell she's so easygoing with the whole conversation. It's like, wow, like, this is so great that, like, there's people that can talk this open about it, and, like, it helped me so much, like, where I feel like myself again, where I'm able to, like, even have this talk and be open about it without feeling like shame.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And I think that's what, we want to kind of bring to the surface. We are absolutely going to have her back, because I do want to get more into her mind and how she gives off such, like, a nice little, like, I love her energy. I feel good. But just kind of wrapping it all up, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight on Beautiful Broken. And just, self-pleasure is a personal thing, right? And no one ever is going to be alone in your room with you. Like, Beautiful Broken is all about when you are by yourself. It is not about showing up on Instagram and trying to be perfect. It's not about impressing your parents or your partner. Who do you think you are, and how do you truly feel about yourself when you look in the mirror?
Yeah.
If you haven't checked out your body parts, open that thing up. For men, just whip it out. Like, you got to get comfortable with who you are,
I definitely
people.
agree. I definitely agree. And there's, like, self-pleasure, like you said, it's, like, it is a form of self-love, and it should be more openly discussed and talked about, and it is a thing that can actually, for me, helps with like anxiety and everything. So this could go so deep into topic. Like Jocelyn definitely needs to come back.
She definitely will. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Every Tuesday we will be here on Beautiful Broken's Facebook Live. I'm your host, Brittany Mahan. This is your co-host, Doreen Silva. Go to our website. That's our website. It's going to get redone a little bit there, but and this is our Instagram. Hit us with a follow, share, and like. So thank you guys so much again tonight. Remember, self-love starts with you. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. Have a good night.